The NFL is a league that prides itself on having parity. Unlike the NBA and the MLB, a team can't simply throw money at big names and succeed due to the NFL implementing a hard salary cap. Pair that with big markets not holding the same allure to NFL players as they do to superstars in other sports, and this gives you a league where it's possible for any team to succeed. Having said all this, there's still one area where the NFL falls short in terms of parity. The 7 best teams aren't guaranteed a playoff spot in their division. The team with the best record in each of the conferences, 4 divisions, is awarded a playoff spot and home field advantage for the first round. This makes no sense. Why can an 11-5 team miss the playoffs entirely because a much worse 8-8 team gets a free pass to be slaughtered in the wildcard round? This year, it's beginning to look like all 4 teams in the NFC East aren't going to be worthy of a playoff spot. Why should they get an automatic bid, let alone home field advantage, when a better team like the Arizona Cardinals or the Chicago Bears is going to finish with a better record than them, but because they're in a tougher division, will not get the same opportunity? It makes no sense to include worse teams in the playoffs for the sake of a system that was invented before commercial air travel was widely accessible. The NFL needs to get rid of automatic playoff bids for division winners in order to encourage a higher level of play come January.
The NFC East is bad this year. I'm a fan of one of the teams that is the worst in the division up until this point. But I really think you can't sit here and say they shouldn't have a playoff spot. It is simply how the system works, and there are flaws to the system. But bad teams have also benefited from this before. The 2010 Seahawks made the playoffs with a record of 7-9. 2014 Panthers made the playoffs with a record of 7-8-1. Both of these teams went on to win a playoff game. And if this system didn't exist, we would not have Beast Mode, the Beast Mode run against the Saints, which I'm sure if anyone who uses social media has seen this run before, this wouldn't exist if the division system did not exist. This 7-9 team made the playoffs. And this is coming from a fan of the New York Giants. In the 2010, went 10-6, missed the playoffs because of how the wild card worked out. 10-6 versus 7-9 record. They were the ones that lost out that year. And then the year after that, they went on to win the Super Bowl. So it could have also been another Super Bowl year for them. Divisions give us rivalries, and without them, they don't exist today. We do not have the rivalries that fans love. Giants vs. Cowboys does not exist if they're not in the same division. Steelers, Browns, not much of a rivalry as far as competitiveness, but that doesn't exist if we don't have divisions. I think divisions are necessary, and there are certain pitfalls that you're going to come across when a division is bad. Teams are going to benefit occasionally. The NFC East just happens to be doing it worse than anyone else has ever done it.
I'm going to start with the first part of your argument, which is incredibly flawed. Just because of one play and historical precedent does not mean this system is all right. If that were the case, no laws would ever be changed and everything would be the same. You'd still be allowed to spear people in the head with helmets. You'd still be allowed to wear those horribly unsafe face masks with one bar down the middle. Things change and improve over time, particularly in sports. The argument of historical precedent is stupid, and if you want to reference one play, who knows what plays could have happened if a better team got in that position. And as for your second part, in no part of my initial tirade did I mention disbanding the divisions. If you would like to play the Cowboys, Eagles, and football team twice a year, by all means, NFL schedule makers can go to town. But the original purpose of the divisions was because teams were closer together to each other, and it made it easier to travel in between games when teams were going by bus. That is simply no longer an issue. It's an outdated system which is still being built on its roots of the NFL from the 1940s and 50s. I'm not saying get rid of divisions, but you have to understand why they're in place. You can play whoever you want. I don't care. But teams with worse records and the worst teams should not get automatic playoff bids just because they play in a division.
I know, but also if you take away the implication of a division game deciding whether or not you are able to make the playoffs and win your division, then there's no value to it. It diminishes the rivalry. If a team wants to make the playoffs, they should first try and win their division and win their divisional games.
You mean like the Minnesota Vikings who were 2-4 in their division last year and made the playoffs?
Well, they made the playoffs as a wild card team.
And there's still going to be implications to the winning the divisional game. And even if, in your hypothetical world where you still have these divisions, a team could theoretically lose every single game in their division, be 0-6 in the division, and still make the playoffs and win their division. It's based off record, not head-to-head record with their division.
It's very hard to lose your every single division game and also win your division, though.
Yeah, it's also very hard to win 6 or 7 games and make the playoffs. But right now, it's looking like that's going to happen, either Philadelphia or Dallas.
It is.
No, I want teams from the best divisions to be in the playoffs. I want the Cardinals, who are not going to sniff winning their division, to have that final chance for a playoff
because it's so
spot.
exciting to see the 13-3 Saints make the playoffs and lay an absolute egg.
What are you talking about? What does that have to do with what I just said?
The Saints are an insane regular season team, and then they just go shit the bed in the playoffs. So you can be bad in the regular season and still be better in the playoffs.
Championship game 2 years ago and getting screwed over with a controversial penalty, or nearly upsetting the 13-3 Minnesota Vikings. They've had one bad game in the playoffs recently, and that was against the Minnesota Vikings with questionable officiating at the end, and you're trying to hold that against them like they shouldn't belong. I wasn't even talking about the 13-3 Saints. The 13-3 Saints are always going to be a playoff team. I'm talking about the bottom feeders.
I'm just saying, I'm arguing for the little guy, Isaiah. The teams...
You're arguing for a flawed system, and you're arguing for the little guy because the New York Giants historically have been the little guy.
That's not true at all.
Yes, it is.
That's just as false. That's extremely false.
So you're saying
a team with four... You're saying a team
worse record.
You're saying a team with 4 Super Bowls when there are many teams that only have 1 or have none is historically bad.
What were the records of those teams when they made the playoffs and got to the Super Bowl?
I do not know the records of when they won back in the day, but in 2006 it was 8-8. They actually came in 3rd in their division, so it was the strongest division in the NFL. Which ironically,
they were a wild card team,
and they were a wild card.
I'm very happy for them. They should have had a playoff spot if they were a wild card team. Evidently, wild card teams, when given the shot, can actually succeed. That situation very nearly couldn't have happened because a division winner, who is far worse, could have stepped in. But no, you're saying that you, the little team, the small teams, the teams which are worse than other teams, should have a right to the playoffs. They don't. Your right to the playoffs is winning games.
I mean, what if, for example, the Eagles this year, I don't think they will because I don't think any team in the NFC East is going to be making moves in the playoffs. But let's just say, for example, the Eagles get off to this horrible start. The Cowboys get off to this horrible start. But the Eagles get healthy near the end of the year. The Cowboys, they figure defense out by the end of the year. And one of them squeaks in the playoffs. And then they're making moves in the playoffs because they're finally figuring it out. We don't get that if it's a system where the division doesn't matter anymore and the 7 best regular season teams make the playoffs.
Well, then I'll raise you this one. What if a team like the Arizona Cardinals, a team which is right now hovering at 500 with a 2-2 record, what if they continue with that pace for a majority of the year, but their last 2 or 3 games, they start really heating up. They start gelling. Hopkins and Murray, they start really working together. What if they get hot, get 9 wins, 9-7 record, but get denied a playoff spot because a 7-win team in the Eagles or the Cowboys gets an automatic bid?
I mean, I guess we can agree to disagree. The 12 to maybe 25 people that watch this, let us know what you think. Like the video, subscribe. We're at a whopping 52, trying to get to 53, maybe even 60 one day. See you in the next one.